my friendo Steve here.
And Larson.
And welcome back to Going In Raw News Brief. We're going to try to keep this one brief today, but we've got a lot. We've got a lot to unpack here with the creative changes there in WWE. Paul Heyman out, Bruce Pritchard, more power, more, but we'll see if it's better. Let's try to get this one up to 600 likes. Larson, kick this thing off. What's going on here?
Sure. So following the news late yesterday that Paul Heyman was out as executive director of Raw, we're getting a bunch of new details. WrestlingNews.co is reporting that the move was Vince's call and that Heyman did not quit. And the reason that Vince made the move was his concern over Raw's declining ratings. Not really a surprise. It's kind of what we expected.
Yeah.
PW Insider is reporting that Vince had become, quote, very upset and, quote, openly frustrated with the state of Raw, with WrestleVote saying that a source told them that the show had been, quote, a mess lately, and that the show apparently couldn't continue in the state it was in, noting that, quote, at times recently the show has changed up to the point of air, which I assume means they are rewriting up until the point the show is supposed to go live, even though the way they're taping things lately, I guess that would mean, well, I guess it could mean that even as far as re-editing, reshoots, who knows, based on what was on paper on the script. A source within WWE's front office told Wrestling Observer, quote, I am shocked it took this long. Everyone knew it was coming. Vince did not like Paul.
Sort of a repeat of, 2003 or so.
Yeah.
Of course, a lot of the wrestling journalists are chiming in with their own sources, their own takes. Tom Collihu also noted, quote, that one of the reasons behind this change was apparently due to Vince McMahon no longer having the XFL to focus on. WrestlingNews.co also reported that McMahon is more involved with Raw than SmackDown, and that made Heyman's job much harder as he had to try to push his ideas while trying to keep McMahon happy. Wrestling Observer states that Vince had seemingly had a change of philosophy given the current pandemic, stating, previously the mentality was all about the future. The XFL was a long-term play. Raw under Heyman was a long-term play. Now the mentality is to worry about what you have and think about now, even though the company is going to be more profitable this year and next than probably any time in its existence. And honestly, man, you can see how both shows are playing out in that manner. We've got two veterans for the IC title, AJ Styles and Daniel Bryan. That's playing out tonight. You've got one of their other big feuds that they're focusing on, Jeff Hardy versus Sheamus. Obviously, they're big-time veterans. You've got two veterans who are bolstering the relatively young to the company, Braun Strowman, the Universal Champion. He's taken on Miz and Morrison, so you're adding veterans to that mix as well.
Why you look over on Raw for the U.S. title match at Backlash, Andrade versus Apollo. Both up-and-coming talents. And then you have Drew McIntyre as your top champ, who, he's been in the wrestling business for a very long time, but just finally getting his long-deserved push to the main event. So, based on how Raw has been approaching things, focusing on younger talent, is obvious one of Heyman's ideas was pushing for and developing new talent rather than rely on veterans and part-timers, and that seemingly may have been a point of contention between himself and Vince. The newsletter notes that, quote, Heyman had pushed the idea of 18 months or longer with the idea the company wasn't making stars and needed to create new stars, particularly that appealed to younger fans, which is true.
Yeah.
PW Insider adds, quote, but with no one exploding as immediate draw in the Raw series taking the hardest hit in terms of viewership during the COVID-19 pandemic, it was probably only a matter of time before McMahon would make the call to change things up. I will say it's kind of hard to get any sort of gauge as far as who is getting over when you don't have fans in attendance.
Yeah, I mean, if they're solely relying on the ratings, this is such a, you can't. I mean, you can't. They could potentially, I guess, tell the Performance Center recruits who are in the crowd and the NXT stars in the crowd
if you really like Drew, pop louder for him.
Exactly. So of course, there's also a reaction backstage to what's going on. PW Insider is reporting that Backstage Quote, among Raw talents we spoke to, there was a shock and surprise about Heyman's ousting, as most we spoke to enjoyed working with him and felt he was trying to build them, especially those who had rarely been given a chance to be presented consistently as a potential star. Wrestling Observer adds to that, much of the talent on the Raw side was concerned for obvious reasons. Most had never had a national push. Some had languished on the main roster before Heyman. At the same time, McMahon has a notorious lack of patience, and the joke is that if you don't get over with him in 3 weeks, that he loses interest. Larson, we've seen this happen many, many times. We've seen this happen. Humberto Carrillo gets potentially, he's on the precipice of getting over on AJ Styles, and then yanked,
Even prior to that, Cedric Alexander.
There you
Ricochet
go.
is another name.
Ricochet's another name. I mean, Aleister Black sat in a room for a year.
Basically. Yeah.
The belief is that McIntyre and the Street Profits are liked by McMahon and are probably safe, although they will be more subject to the whims of booking that may or may not protect them as well. As far as everyone else, it's anyone's guess.
Fightful Select. Oh, sorry. Do you have more to add?
No. Go ahead.
All right. Fightful Select has heard, quote, from a variety of performers both in and out of WWE, with responses landing all over the map, apparently ranging from, quote, general disappointment and surprise all the way to, quote, others indicating they could see the writing on the wall of late. And then Fightful Select notes that the younger wrestlers are particularly disappointed in their words. Quote, Heyman was well known for wanting new blood on his shows. Heyman's philosophy of building for the future is something that WWE has not done for a number of years in terms of developing new stars to serve as cornerstones for the respective brands. That's something they've not done a particularly good job of last decade, maybe. It's something that needs to be addressed. So I wonder if this is a matter of the circumstance of Heyman trying to carry out this plan and having to do so at a time when there's no immediate feedback from fans in attendance.
There was a report from Fightful Select today, and I won't dig too deep into it because we hey, it's a subservice. That's why we really encourage people to go out and pay for things like Fightful Select.
Go subscribe to Fightful
even like
Select,
PW Insider Elite, stuff like that. Like, look, man, these guys are putting in work, and so we really encourage our fans out there because this is a service that we really enjoy. I like getting, up-to-date emails, and I know Sean Ross Sapp is going to have Fightful's going to have a lot more in the coming days about this, especially with Backlash just coming up on Sunday. But this particular report here, this particular update for the situation, he says there was a lighthearted joke backstage that Raw was built around the catering crew instead of the Smackdown 6 this time. So as you guys may or may not know, back in the day in 2003 when Paul Heyman was writing Smackdown, there was the Smackdown 6 that he was basing the stories around, and that's when Smackdown was really creatively and in the ratings starting to overtake Raw because he took like these talented people who might not have been the biggest names, but he built around them. It was Chavo, Eddie, Edge, Angle, and two more, Ray, and one more. Who was it, dude? Who was it? I forget now. Anyways, there were 6 of them. Am I thinking Benoit? Am I leaving out Benoit?
I think that's who.
Maybe Benoit was the other one. I hope I got that right. I probably didn't. I'm going to get blasted.
I'll check. Carry on.
But they're talking about AOP, Zelina, Andrade, Humberto Carrillo, Aleister Black, Andrade, and Buddy Murphy were all relegated to SmackDown's catering areas the year before, and were hardly
Congratulations, you got it right.
Oh, wow. That's shocking. And were hardly used on WWE TV. Heyman was a big fan of Buddy Murphy and Apollo Crews. And he really wanted to keep on trying with Ricochet and Cedric Alexander, but Vince McMahon had pulled the plug on their push, which is just absolutely like mind-blowing. There was an interesting graph that I saw not long ago, and I want to give a shout out to, I want to say it's WrestleNomics. Is that what it is? I want to make sure I get their Twitter account right.
I believe so, yeah.
Where they talk about like wrestling and numbers and stuff like that. And I think that's where this graph came from. I don't have it in front of me, but I remember it pretty vividly. And it showed the level of Google trend interest in WWE Championship names. WrestleNomics, okay. And I believe this came from them. And it all stopped at Jinder Mahal. So like there was a lot of Google trend interest in the names of WWE champions while they were champion. Jinder Mahal killed it. Like it went way down with him, and ever since him, it has been in the negative, like compared to where it was before.
Yeah.
Now I'm not going to blame everything on the decision to push Jinder, but there did seem to be, I mean, since then, man, there's been creatively, WWE has been extra. Like it's been more of a mess than I feel like around that time. Like if you remember when they did originally like the brand split, what was it, 2015?
2016.
2016. Like, you know, Raw was a pretty exciting place to be. Like when they brought Finn Balor in, even like SmackDown had its ups and downs, but even SmackDown was pretty decent at times.
Well, by the end of that year, it got to be so it was pretty enjoyable.
I believe, I think it was around then. And then, you know, you put the title on Jinder Mahal for no other reason. And look, I think you and I are both Jinder fans, but you can't say that for that 6 months, you know, he was treated as anything but, you know, a guy who, you know, we're just waiting on him to lose the title. And I could see how interest would drop. And you know, by all accounts, the reason why they put that title on Jinder was because they were trying to penetrate the Indian market. And he was a character who could do that. And evidently it didn't really work. And on top of that, maybe it made people lose interest in the product. Now, you didn't see a dramatic fall in the ratings, or there wasn't anything that was like overnight, all of a sudden ratings were really bad, but you can't say that. I mean, since then, creatively speaking, like it's been up and down really, you know, and nothing that they've really done since then has been overwhelmingly compelling. Some of the Ronda stuff was really good. The Becky stuff,
flashes.
The Becky stuff here and there was good. Yeah. But yeah, I don't know, man. I think that
there's been flashes of interesting story, but just to balance the bits that are interesting, they've had a lot of bad stuff. Like the whole prolonged bit with Shane and Kevin Owens that went on forever. Yeah. That just bogged down the whole show. I mean, there's been so many instances of stuff like that where seemingly on SmackDown too, it's kind of thing. Seemingly whenever they insert Shane McMahon in a storyline at a prominent role on SmackDown, it just takes over the whole show, bogs it down. When he turned heel against The Miz, same thing. You know, so long as seemingly whenever Shane wasn't the focus of stories on SmackDown has been more or less an enjoyable show. Yeah. Is it groundbreaking? No. Is it must-watch TV? Probably not, but it's still enjoyable. We just don't get a whole lot of those, to borrow a phrase that WWE used to be fond of, OMG moments. Yeah, right. On WWE television anymore. Yeah. It's all you know, straightforward for the most part, straightforward storytelling. Not a whole lot of surprises. There'll be some fun moments. But far too often they'll set something up. Following week's gone. Yeah, and there's still a lot of lack of follow through.
There's also, I mean, look, there's also the matter of, and I don't know how much of this is Heyman. I mean, I know, like, for one thing, Raw being 3 hours during the empty arena era, even if you have like the PC people in the crowd, I mean, even when there was a crowd, 3 hours is a lot, you know? Yeah. But it makes it extra. And I mean, it's funny because I've seen a whole variety of opinions in terms of how Raw is creatively versus how SmackDown is creative. I know these days lately, I've been enjoying SmackDown much more than Raw. But yeah, I mean, it's not an easy time right now, but also, man, and I don't know if there's no way to know, but when you push younger stars, you have to commit. Yeah. And having Aleister Black beat Seth Rollins, but never definitively, like if they go one-on-one in the ring, I never think that Aleister Black is going to definitively win. And he hasn't. Like last time when he did, because I think he pinned Seth like 2 weeks ago, but it was because of some interference.
Yeah, roll up too.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it was a roll-up. So it's not like he got him black mass, boom, he got 1, 2, 3. They never let the young stars really get over to have that one catalyst moment where, boom, they're out there. You know, even in the hierarchy of Angel Garza and Andrade's still the top dog. And Andrade, I mean, look, he's He's been around a little while. I would still consider him a young guy, but Angel Garza obviously is a lot more fresh face than he is. So, and I know Angel Garza had a win against Kevin Owens. There was a little bit of interference there, but that was a solid win. I don't know, man. I think that like at some point you have to bite the bullet and just invest in the future and let that play out the way it's going to. Maybe right now isn't the time to do that because we're in the empty arena era. Maybe that now is the time, and maybe Vince is right now. Maybe you go all in on like the most established people in the most prominent spots because of what we're dealing with right now.
Yeah, I don't know, but history has shown that Vince has shown the willingness to take that step to take short-term losses for long-term gains. He did that in the New Generation era. Granted, the transition from Hogan being top guy wasn't seamless, it wasn't smooth, but ultimately it was made. And the New Generation phase of WWE is probably one of the low points of the whole company. But he realized that Hulkamania was running out of steam and needed to move on from it. Likewise, Ruthless Aggression era, that was the whole thing, was like, hey, we need to invest in building new stars because Stone Cold's hurt. In 2003 he was gone. The Rock was on his way to Hollywood. They needed to develop new stars, and they did it. They realized it was going to be a situation where they were going to take a hit in the ratings, but the hope was long term they would build up, and to a degree they were successful because that's, we saw John Cena, Brock Lesnar, Kurt Angle really established himself, Randy Orton, Batista, so to a certain degree they were successful, but it seems now there's a complete unwillingness to see that they are in that situation, that they have to invest the time and money in developing new talent to take them into the future, and they're just they can't commit to it, or they won't commit to it.
Well, there's two things also. Number one thing about developing new talent is it's got to be in creative as well. You know what I mean? And I know he likes his inner circle. He likes his Bruce Pritchards, who will tell them, by all accounts, who will say, yeah, you're right, or at least has the same philosophies as Vince, regardless of what they are. He likes his inner circle. He's known Paul Heyman for a very long time. But that's the problem with getting rid of guys like Jimmy Jacobs, is that, you got fresh blood who is out there, and could be bringing something new. He did the Festival of Friendship stuff with most famously with Jericho and Kevin Owens, and that it's still talked about to this day. So you need that. But also, number two, dude, you would think that right now would be the perfect time to build stars. You're at the beginning of your new TV contract. So yes, I mean, why couldn't you tell USA, hey, we're going to be rebuilding some stars for the first year of this, and it's like, we're going to do what we can. We're still WWE. We're still going to be delivering a solid, however, $2.5 million or whatever during the normal era. But, within 2 years or within 12 months, you should start to see this pay off because we're really going to be hammering this home. We're going to be building these new stars. Now is the time to do it because they're locked in for 5 years.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
But
you think so?
Evidently that's not the case. The XFL is gone and Vince is back.
Like Vince is playing for the now. But anyways, all this creative upheaval on Maine, one wonders, could NXT be next?
Yeah.
WrestlingNews.co states, quote, I was told that McMahon has been frustrated with NXT ratings as well, but right now it doesn't look like there are any changes coming for that brand on the creative side, but there has been talk of using more talent from Raw and SmackDown on that show.
Man, if they do it, they better damn well motivate it by previous relationships, because people liked NXT. They like seeing, the faces from the independent ranks come in. And if you're going to have main roster talent, Kevin Owens isn't doing anything on Raw right now.
Not really.
With the change, that might change because he is more of an established face. I could see him swooping in somehow and getting that U.S. title scene.
But how awesome was it when he showed up at War Games to take on the Disputed Era?
Amazing. I would love to see that.
I know. And Adam Cole in his promo this week says no one in NXT or WWE can beat him for that NXT title, which put the thought in my brain, maybe someone from Raw or SmackDown has come over and challenge him.
Yeah, but dude, it can't be a dumping ground for talent that they're not getting over. I don't want to see Ricochet back in NXT. I don't want to see, Cedric wasn't in NXT. That's a name I wouldn't actually mind maybe seeing because he hasn't been there. I wouldn't mind seeing a Cedric Alexander takeover match. We've seen Ricochet there. It seemed like a demotion for him. It seemed worse for him. But yeah, guys like Kevin Owens, guys who have relationships, who have a motivation to be there. I'm okay with that. But at the same time, like NXT is starting to close that viewership gap, the overall viewership gap with AEW. And again, we're also in a really weird time. Creatively, NXT has been really, really good lately. Hopefully they're able to say, hey, just let this play out a little bit longer. Yeah. But if you're going to do that, make sure the names that go back there are strategically placed so they could generate the biggest interest and not just, we'll just shove some people over there,
Yeah, without any thought to it.
Yeah,
exactly.
One of the most stunning misuses lately has been Aleister Black, though. Dude, when he was in NXT, he was the most amazing thing, and then they literally put him in a room for a year.
I know, that's totally ruined all his mystique.
That's shocking to me. Absolutely shocking.
Well, we got a Smackdown tonight. Looks like it could be pretty solid. What I would assume would be the main event: Daniel Bryan and AJ Styles meet in the Intercontinental Championship Tournament Finals. Every indication we've gotten is that this match is outstanding. So we could be in for a treat of a main event tonight. Yeah, no, this should be amazing. Jeff Hardy and Sheamus to converge for a contract signing ahead of Backlash. This will be interesting. Yeah. There's some spoilers out there about this. We'll just leave it at that. Go ahead. Heavy Machinery, so Tucky's back, reunite alongside Braun Strowman to face Dolph, The Miz, and John Morrison. Is there any chance Tucky turns on Otis tonight? I hope not, because I just kind of feel like that's lazy storytelling. Yeah, I know, which is why I'm bringing it up as a possibility. Yeah, no, it wouldn't surprise me, but it just feels like it'd be kind of lazy. Otis has nothing to do right now? I know, but I guess if the alternative is Tucky's not in TV ever, I guess it's good to have him involved in something. Oh, yeah, I'd rather have him be around than not, for sure. Not around, but it'd be ideal if they could find a way to approach it where it's just not your standard tag team breaks up so one of them can go on a singles run, Yeah, but here's the thing. This is why. Otis is already on a singles run, and Tucky rightfully could be. I mean, look, this story really does. I know you might think it's lazy, but I almost feel like it'd be weird if they didn't pull the trigger on this because Otis has left his best friend for a girl. This is and Bruce Pritchard loves that kind of story. Yes, he does. The old tropes, the old conventions. Yes. So it wouldn't shock me if we saw this at all. Yeah, it wouldn't shock me either. I'm just kind of hoping for a more creative approach. Because you have to have some way how Miz and Morrison are gonna stand tall over Braun, and Tucky turning heel on Otis and them leaving him out to dry. That totally is probably going to be the case. Anyways, entirely possible. Yeah. Anyways, let us know what you guys think in the comments below. Hit that like button, man. Let's get this one to 600. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Appreciate it. Till next time. We'll talk to you later. Goodbye.